Mhm.
The left, you have to like click up on the left.
Yes. Good morning, Jaime.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Morning. Okay, Boker Tov.
Okay, tough.
Okay, we are on Vav Base 6B 2 at the top of the page. We started it on Friday. We're going to go over it now. 6B 2. She'ein la shalosh tefanot. The Mishnah stated that a sukkah that does not have 3 walls, such a sukkah is invalid. If I want to darshan a little bit of Bederach Drasha, maybe maybe the 3 walls of a sukkah are symbolic of the 3 walls of the Jewish community: Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Those are the walls of protection for the Jewish community. It's a little drasha, a little bit, thinking out loud a little bit. I wonder if there's some idea of the 3 walls. Those are our walls. Those are the walls of our protection. That's what we have to enclose ourselves in the teachings and in the ways of the avot. Okay. Tana Rabbanan. Shtayim kilchata. The 2 of the walls have to be proper walls. The real McCoy, as they say. 2 walls have to be 10 tvachim high and 7 tvachim wide, which is, we said, the size of a sukkah has to be able to contain an area inside that's 7 tvachim by 7 tvachim. That's the minimum size, and the wall has to be, that's the 2 of the walls have to be that size. However, shlishit, the 3rd wall, is a filu tefach. The Chacham say there's a special dispensation, special leniency and allowance that the 3rd wall does not have to be 7 tefachim wide. The 3rd wall could be just 1 tefach, 1/7 of the size of the rest of the walls, or the width of the rest of the walls. Just its height, it has the regular height of all the other walls, except there's much more. It's not filling up so much space in its width. It's only taking up the space about a tefach, which is let's say a little over 3 inches of width. So it's between a little over 3 inches to 4 inches of width. So that's the first opinion in the Gemara, and that's called a wall. We have this legal. We're going to call it a wall, even though it doesn't have the dimensions of the other walls. It will be acceptable. Reb Shimon says no. You have to have shalosh kilchata. You have to have 3 walls that are proper. You need to have 3 walls which will be like 1, 2, 3. Morning, and like a U in some sort of walls, 3 walls, and then the 4th wall can be even the size of a tefach. That's the opinion of Reb Shimon. You need 3 strong, walls that have this proper width of the sukkah. Now, the Micah Miflagi. So the Gemara wants to understand, what is this argument based on? Where is the source of this argument, whether you need 3 good walls or 2 good walls, and the 3rd or the 4th wall could even be a tefach. So the Gemara says the following: Rabbanan Savri, Rabbanan hold yesh aim lemesoret. The main winner in when you expound on a pasuk, the winner is the way it was written in the Torah. If the Torah writes something a certain way and it's read a different way, so and the reading indicates one way and the writing indicates something else, so you go after the way the written is the way you got to follow. That means there's a reason why it's read a certain way. There's a reason why it's written a certain way. So many times when the written is taking you a certain direction and the reading is usually taking you a different direction, if they're independent ideas that have teaching us independent ideas, and they're not contradictory ideas. But if they're actually clashing, so to speak, Now, which one do you say is the Torah is coming to teach us? He says the way it's written. So what does that mean over here in our case? We have in the Torah 3 times in these psukim, there happens to be last week's parasha, where it talks about Sukkah. And it mentions, the pasuk says, Basukot Teshvu Shivat Yamim. Then it says, Kol Ezach V'Yisrael, everyone should dwell Basukot. And then it says, everybody should remember that God placed us in Sukkot, in these special clouds that protected us. Ki Basukot Hoshafti. So we had the word Basukot is written 3 times. And Basukot, now the way we pronounce it is plural. Basukot is plural. Sukkah would be 1, Sukkot is 2, minimum of 2. So the way we read it, we read all three words are read the same exact way. Basukot, plural. But the way it's written in the Torah, 2 of them are written without a vav. 2 of them were written in the singular form. It's pronounced in the plural form, but it's written in the singular form. And 1 pasuk has basukot in the plural with a vav, in the plural form written as well. So we have, now based on that, the Gemara understands that the repetition of these words are coming to teach us something about the walls of the sukkah. And if you read the way it's written, so we have a total of 4, the way it's written, because 2 times without a vav is singular, is total of 2, and the 3rd time with the vav is 2. So therefore, we have a total of 4. Is that clear? I don't know if Jaime, is it clear? Mr. Batesh, Adam. So we have the way it's written is telling us 4. The way it's read is telling us 6. Because the word basukos 3 times, the way it's read, 3 times 2 is 6. So for the way so we have 6. So one direction is telling us about 6 walls, and we'll see. And one direction is telling us about 4 walls. So then we're gonna see how they're going to explain it. So now the question is, which way do we go? So the Gemara suggests that perhaps the argument of these 2 rabbis is which one is primary? Is it the way it's written, or is it the way it's read? So that's how in this particular circumstance. So the Gemara says the following: Rabbanan Savri Yesh Emla Masoret. Masoret, the word Masoret here means the way Moshe gave the Torah. The word to moser is to give over. We know there's something that's someone called a moser when someone snitches to the government. That's called a moser. It's a very big sin to snitch on a fellow Jew to the government. It's a terrible sin. It's called a moser. The reason why it's called a moser because he gave over some information to the government. And Masoret means you're giving over the way Moshe gave over the Torah when he wrote the Torah, and he gave it over to the community, the way it was given, the way it was. That's that. When we say Yesh Em Masoret, referring to the written Torah, the way it's written. So that's one opinion. That's primary, the way it's written. And there's another opinion, Yesh Em La Mikra. You have to go, the Mikra is the way it's like Vayikra Moshe, he called the way it's read. That's the one that we have to, that's the one that will tell us how we have to expound in this situation. So the Gemara now explains, okay, if you go after the way it's read, so you would get 6, say which it should be 6 walls. Where do we get 3 walls plus a 4th wall as a tefach? And if it's also the way it's written, so the way it's written, it's 4 walls. Where do we get opinion of 2 walls and a tefach? So now the Gemara is going to explain the following. Rabbanan Savri Yesh Aim LeMasoret. Rabbanan hold that the Masoret, the way it's written in the Torah, everybody, it's clear. Everybody has a clear, Mr. Batesh, Adam, Jaime, wait. Everyone holds Yesh Aim LeMasoret. Sorry, the Rabbanan hold. The Rabbanan hold. The rabbi's opinion, remember, the rabbis have the more lenient opinion over here. They say a sukkah only requires 2 walls that are proper walls, and the third wall could be a tefach. And why are they of that opinion? Because they hold the main thing is the way it's written in the Torah. Basukot, basukot, basukot. It says basukot, as you see the way the Gemara brings it down. Basukot without a vav, then basukot without a vav, right? Beis samach chavtav. And then the third time the Torah brings up basukot with a vav, because that's the way it's written in the Torah. 2 times without the vav, and 1 time with the vav. The vav makes it plural. Okay, so hari kan arba. So based on the way it's written in the Torah, we got 4 walls on the deal. Now, dal chad l'gufei. Now, one of the words are needed for itself. The Torah needs to tell you, you need to sit in a sukkah. So since the Torah needs to tell you to sit in the sukkah, so you can't, it's not available. That word is not available. One of them are not available to teach you how many walls of a sukkah. Because the Torah needs to introduce this idea that you have to dwell in a sukkah, independent of telling me a detail about a wall of the sukkah. So therefore, one of the 4 are needed, is not available to teach us about the walls of the sukkah, because one of the 4 are needed to tell us about the whole idea that you need to sit in the structure called the sukkah. The pasuk needs to tell me what you need to do on Sukkot. It's telling you need to go ahead and sit in the sukkah. But by having by repeating the word Sukkot, so that repetition of the word Sukkot, that comes to teach us about the walls of a detail about the walls of the sukkah. So therefore, he says, we only have 3 that are available to teach us about the wall. So pashu luhu tlata. You're left with 3 walls that are the total of 3 that are available to tell us about the size of the walls of the sukkah. So we say shtayim kilchata. 2 of the walls have to be proper walls. But we have on record that there was a oral teaching, a halacha l'Moshe Sinai, that one of the walls of a sukkah does not have to have the true dimensions. Morning, Simon. The true dimensions of a wall of a sukkah. It could get away with 1 tefach, as Mr. Batesh spoke about the leniency last week. We see the leniencies. So we could get. So therefore comes the halacha l'Moshe Sinai and teaches us. Well, Moni Huda. Comes the halacha l'Moshe Sinai and teaches us that the 3rd wall is the wall that is a tefach. That's the halacha l'Moshe Sinai. So we have left in the pasuk to tell us we have 3 walls that we learn out from the pasuk, but we have the halacha l'Moshe Sinai that teaches us that 3rd wall does not need to be. Good morning, Mark. That the the 3rd wall does not need to be the true dimensions of a wall. It could be even a tefach, minimum of a tefach. We are on Vavam and Bet. We're on 6b. So that's the Gemara. That's the opinion of the Rabbanan. Comes the halacha of Sinai, and it lessened the 3rd wall and made the 3rd wall less. Instead of being 7 tefachim wide, it could even be a tefach. Rav Shimon Sava, however, Rav Shimon says no. Rav Shimon says you need to have 3 good walls plus, and the 4th wall is a tefach. Now, why does he come up with that? Where does the Gemara suggests, where is his reason for his ruling? Because he holds yesh aim la mikra, that when you have a reading of the pasuk indicating one direction and the writing of the pasuk clashing with it, if you would expand upon the reading, it's telling you a certain amount of walls. And if you focus on the writing of the way it's written, it'll tell you a different number of walls. Who's the winner? He says you have to go after the way it's written. It's read. He's of the opinion you go after the way it's read. Yesh aim la mikra. The reading is primary in such a situation.
What's the example of the reading and the writing?
The reading, right. The reading is basukot. The word sukkot is plural. In sukkot, in huts, plural. That's the way it's pronounced. Basukot, in huts, in Huts, you shall dwell. But the way it's written, two of the three verses, it says in the singular, in a hut. It's written without the vav. Without the vav.
What if the reading has a pronunciation differentiation between people's dialect or culture? It's supposed to be read. Whoever dialect and culture, it's supposed to come out. The meaning of the way it's read is Huts. The meaning of the way you read it is supposed to come out plural. That's how it has to. When you read it, but don't we have differentiations in plural the way we say so many things like Shabbos and Shabbat? Isn't one singular and one plural?
You might have Shabbatot, let's say, is plural. Shabbat is singular. We have such a thing. In that situation, we have the Torah writes it differently, and it's written. Each case it's written differently, and it's pronounced differently. Meaning to say, you have here the one word in your case, Jaime. There's a word Shabbat with three. There's a word Shabbat, and there's another word Shabbaton. So it's very Shabbatot. It's very clear in that situation that one is singular and one is plural.
How do you define Shabbos?
Shabbos is a resting, to rest.
But it's singular?
It's singular. I would say Shabsot, there's a pasuk that right there's the Shabbatot, there is a plural, and there's Shabbat, the word Shabbat is Shabbat Hayom LaHashem. It's a day of rest.
How about when it's pronounced Sukkot and Sukkos? Isn't Sukkos plural and Sukkot singular, or no?
Right, so Sukkot and Sukkot is also plural. And what did you say? What's the other word that you use?
Sukkos.
Sukkos is also plural. They're both
plural. They don't contradict.
Right. They're just the way that like Yehuda says Ashkenazim, the way they pronounce it. They don't pronounce it tough. Right. They said S like Ashkenaz say Shabbos and you say Shabbat, and it's Sukkot or Sukkos. But they're both in the reading a plural reading. So, but here therefore it's all three words are in the plural reading. It's basukot, basukos. Not right, exactly. And now the Gemara explains this opinion. If you go after the way it's read, so you have plural, the way it's read is in the plural all three times. And therefore, it would sound like it should be 6 based on that. Because each one is counted as 2. So now the Gemara explains where do we get 3 and 1 tefach for the 4th? So basukot, yesh aim la mikra. Therefore, the way you read it is basukot. Hari kan sheish. So we have 6 walls on the deal. But dal chad kra legufei. We need one pasuk for itself. We need one pasuk to tell us that you have to sit in a sukkah. You have to sit in a sukkah on Sukkot. So therefore,
you remove one of the words. One of the words are needed for itself to tell us that you have to sit in a sukkah. So therefore, that word is not coming to tell us anything about the walls of a sukkah. It's telling us, introducing the mitzvah of sukkot, of sitting in a sukkah. And therefore, you're left with poshilu arba. You are left with four. You're left with two words. Now you have two words that are left to be expounded upon. You have one word of this. There's three words. So one word is used to tell us the mitzvah of sukkah. Now we're left with the other two words, which tell us about the walls of the sukkah. Pashul arba. So shalosh kachatan. So three have to be proper walls. And atay hilchata. So what about the fourth wall? It should be four. But comes the halacha l'Moshe Sinai, gra'ata l'reviyit. And the halacha l'Moshe Sinai lessened the fourth wall, and said that the fourth wall does not need to be the size of the other three walls. Rather, hukmata tefach, that it has the tefach is enough. Yes. So that the wall 10 tefachim high and 7 tefachim wide. That's a coat. I mean, the Gemara says that this opinion says that why can't it be a tefach? What you could do? It does. Let's say you build let's say this thing over here. If you build here's one wall, two walls, three walls. So here you have the ability to pull a fourth wall the same size. Right, but we're saying you don't need to do the same length on the fourth wall. You can make the fourth wall just one tefach high, an empty space, Yeah, you could be open, right. Exactly. You don't. It could be. This opinion says the fourth side could be open as long as you have one tefach wall, you're good. And the first opinion. And the first opinion says you don't even need that. You only need two walls, Simon. The first opinion says you only need two walls, and the third wall just needs to be a tefach. Now, comes the Gemara and says, the Ibayit Ema. We have another, good morning, Michael, good morning, Mr. Silverman. Ibayit Ema, we have another way to explain the disagreement between these two opinions. If you want, you could explain the Kuli Alma Yesh Aim La Mikra, that maybe both opinions would hold. It's not clear, that you have to say that they're arguing whether the reading is primary or the written is primary when they clash. The Kuli Alma Yesh Aim La Mikra. Everybody holds. Just to bring everybody up to date, we're talking about how many walls are needed for a sukkah. And we have three words. It says basukot, 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 total of 3 times. It's written 2 times without the vav, and 1 time it's written with the vav. So now the question is, how many walls do we get on the deal? So the Gemara says, the Kuli Alma, the Kuli Alma yesh aim lemikra. Everybody, by the way, we're dedicating the share in memory of Daniel Ben Leah and Mr. Safdie. The Kuli Alma yesh aim lemikra. Everybody holds the reading of the pasuk. If you would have to go after the reading of the pasuk, when there is a clash between the reading, the way the reading is telling us, and the writing. But so if that's the case, if you go after the reading, so then it should be 3 walls plus the fourth should be a tefach. So how is there an opinion of 2 walls and the third wall a tefach? This is what they're arguing on. Mar Sava, one opinion holds, Succah bo'ikra. The idea of schach, the schach of a sukkah, right? The Torah says, you have to sit in a sukkah. Now, do we need do we need to use one of the words? Do we need to use the word Sukkot to tell us that you have to put a schach covering on the sukkah? Is that something that you need a special teaching, or if the Torah tells us the word basukot that you sit in a sukkah, we automatically that teaches us automatically the idea that you need a sukkah. It means something that has a schach across the ceiling. So the Gemara says, Ma Sava, one opinion holds, Sechacha Boikro, that the fact that a sukkah has to have, let's say, a proper amount of schach. You could say, what I could suggest, everybody knows a sukkah has schach, there's a covering. But we know that the covering of a sukkah has to be a certain type of covering. It's not enough to have, if you have light schach across the sukkah and there's more sun than shade, it's not a kosher sukkah. You need to have at least more shade than sun. So you might have a lot of people that will tell me, they'll identify this as a sukkah and that is a sukkah, but the Torah is but the halakha is saying this is not halakhically correct as a sukkah, and that is halakhically correct as a sukkah. This you need to, because this has 51% more shade than sun. This one doesn't have more shade than sun. So one opinion says I need a pasuk to teach me this law about the schach. And the fact that the Torah tells you have to sit in the sukkah is not enough to teach us about the schach of the sukkah. That the schach has to be covering that amount of the sukkah. And therefore, being that's the case, they use up one of the four to teach you the schach of the sukkah, and therefore you're left with three words, three sukkot, and the three teach us two walls that are good walls, and the halacha Moshe Mishneh tells us about the third wall, that the third wall could be a tefah. Should I say it again? It's a little bit. We're going now. We have the pasuk is read in the plural. The fact that it's read in the plural gives us 6. The plural tells us pasukot, pasukot, pasukot. It's all read in the plural. God bless you. So this opinion says it's read in the plural. So you got, good morning, Jake. Based on the plural, you got 6. But one of the words is needed to tell you the law that you have to sit in a sukkah. One of them is not extra for itself. One of them is not extra about, one of the words is not coming to tell us about the walls of the sukkah. One of the words telling about a sukkah itself. You have to sit in a sukkah. It's not coming to tell you the walls, to tell you the halachic ramifications of the walls. So therefore, one of the words is removed from the equation. So we're left with 2 words, and we're left with 4 walls. So one opinion says, okay, we have 4 walls, but we also know there's a halacha of Moshe Mishneh that one of the walls only has to be a tefah. So therefore, that Rabbi Shimon says, therefore, if you have 4 walls, if the pasuk is red and it's indicating 4 walls, so 3 walls will be proper walls, and the 4th wall will be a tefah. That's his understanding. But the Chachamim say that I need one of the 4 for something else, not for the walls, for the schach. Because I need one of the 4 to tell me that you have to have schach that covers, let's say, the majority of the sukkah. That gives enough schach that it's more shade than sun. And maybe also it needs to teach you that you have to have, about you can't have certain spaces in the schach. Whatever. It needs to teach you about the laws of the schach of the sukkah. So if it needs to teach you that you have to have the schach of the sukkah, so therefore I'm left with 3. And if I'm left with 3, and I got a halacha Moshe Mishneh that one of the walls is only a tefah, therefore that's why the Chacham say you got 2 regular walls, and the 3rd wall a tefah. That's the opinion of the Chachamim. So let's read it inside. Clear, Mark? Masava Succah boikra. One holds you need, that's the Chachamim, you need a pasuk to tell me about the Succah, to tell me, and therefore one of the four is used for the Succah. And therefore, Marsava, and therefore you're only left with three, and then one, and Halach Mashinai makes it down to two, and plus two full walls, and the third wall at Tefach. Marsava Succah lo boikra. We don't need a special pasuk. You just tell me you sit in a sukkah. Within that word sitting in a sukkah, and the word sukkah means covering. He feels it's all included. The idea of the schach is included in that word. One of the words that we're using, instead of using it for the walls, we're using it for the schach. Correct. Now the Gemara offers a third possible explanation in the argument between the rabbis and Rav Shimon and whether a sukkah is good enough with two walls and the third wall at Tefach, or does a sukkah need to have three walls and the fourth wall at Tefach? The kuli ama yesh aim l'mesoret. Everybody holds that the way it's written, mesoret is the way it's written, is primary. And if it's written in a certain way, it's telling us a certain direction. And if the reading is telling us something else, you got to follow the way it's written. And therefore, the way it's written, we said, there's two psukim basukot without a vav, which would be a total of two. But without a vav, it's singular. One with a vav is plural, so therefore it's a total of four. One's plural, right, Mr. Silverman? Basukot is plural, that's two. And then with the vav, and then we have two without the vav, that makes it a total of four. Okay, so if it's a total of four, so now what's the story? And we need one for itself, right? We need one to tell us the idea of sukkah. They have to sit in a sukkah. So if you need one for itself, so then you're left with what? Three. So where's the argument? If you're left with three, and there's halacha Moshe Sinai. Until now, we said that halacha Moshe Sinai was that one of the walls is a tefach. So therefore, it should be two good walls and the third wall a tefach. So the Gemara says like this: the kuliyama yesh aim l'mesoret. Morning, Mr. Betesh. You go after the way it's written in Torah. They're arguing the following: Masava. The halacha of Moshe Sinai is coming to take away from the size of the wall, and therefore it's making it that instead of having three good, nice walls, you only need two good walls, 10 tvachim high, 7 tvachim wide, and the third wall is even a tefach, even only one tefach wide. However, Umar Sava, the other rabbi holds the halacha of Moshe Sinai is coming to add. It's not coming to take from the existing verse and telling us that one of the walls could be even less than the regular size. Rather, it's coming to add something that we don't have in the verse itself. The verse itself is telling us three walls. Then we have an oral tradition about halacha Moshe Sinai that one of the walls is a tefach. So the second opinion, this new approach is that this opinion is holding that the halacha Moshe Sinai is telling us something that we would not know. It's talking about something which is independent of what's already in the psukim. If the pasuk is telling you three walls, you got to have three good walls. The halacha Moshe Sinai is coming to add. You need a fourth wall. That's the size of a tefach. You don't need a fourth wall, which is the proper size of a wall. That's what halacha Moshe Sinai is telling us. The rabbis hold, Rabban hold, no. Halacha Moshe Sinai is coming to tell us something about the three that we have. And the other rabbi says, no, the halacha Moshe Sinai is going to tell us something we don't have in the pasuk. It's adding something that's not there. Not coming to diminish from something that is there, rather coming to add something that's not there. And therefore, that's how they get to this. That's why one holds is three walls that are proper, and the fourth is even a tefach, and the other holds no, two proper walls and the third wall a tefach. Ibayitema. Now the Gemara says another possible understanding of the machloket. See, a lot of times when people argue, there's not so many ways to go and how to understand the argument. This is very unique. The Gemara is offering many approaches because it could be that the Gemara doesn't want to. You see, if you say that they're arguing in the following, and then that means that would apply to other areas of the Gemara, right? If you say that they're arguing, one holds whether when there's a clash, you go after the way it's written in the Torah, and one holds you go way after it's read. So that would apply. That would be a lot of ramifications in other places in the Torah, and so unless it's compelling that that's the argument, so maybe that's why the Gemara is saying if it's not clear that they're arguing that that's their argument, you can't say that that's for sure their argument, because then it's going to have a lot of ramifications in other places in the Gemara. And if you want, you could say Dekuli Alma Tiatai Hachata Legareya. Everybody holds that the pasuk, the halacha l'Moshe Sinai, is coming to take away from the size of the wall. Meaning to say, whatever the pasuk would indicate the wall is, whatever the pasuk says, comes halacha l'Moshe Sinai and is making it less than what it was, which would be, let's say, if you would have 3 walls based on the pasuk, the halacha l'Moshe Sinai would say that one of the walls is less than, it only has tefach is necessary. And you could say, yesh aim lemesoret. They could both hold that the halacha l'Moshe is coming to take away from the size of the wall. They could both hold that the mesoret, the way it's written, is primary. And v'hacha, and what are they arguing? V'darshin tchilat k'miflagei. Are we able to use the pasuk for itself? We said that one of the words of the Sukkot, we said it was used for itself to tell us the mitzvah of Sukkah. But now the Gemara is saying, and therefore the Gemara wanted to say we can't use it for the walls because it's needed for itself to tell us about the mitzvah of Sukkah. Now the Gemara is suggesting that you can even use the introduction of Sukkot even for the walls as well. Since we're going to have all these psukim that are telling us the size of the wall, even the first mention of Sukkot could also be telling us about the size of the wall. And not only indicating the concept of Sukkah, but also the amount of the wall. So that's the question. Do you use that first pasuk? So now, if you have, the Torah says, we have the way it's written is 4. 2 times without a vav is 2. 1 time with a vav is another 2. So we have 4. And now, so we have 4. So one opinion says that, and therefore if it has 4, and so 3 are for the walls, and 1 is the 4th one, you don't need, it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai, you only need a tefach. The other opinion says no. You need to use one of those 4 for itself to tell us the mitzvah of Sukkah. Therefore, you're only left with 3. It comes halacha l'Moshe Sinai and says that the 3rd wall only has to be a tefach. Okay, I don't want people to be late to shul. It's 7:26. The last thing we ran a little fast. That's the last answer. Maybe we'll go back tomorrow just to repeat the last answer. Have a great day, everybody. All the best. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Great day.
Lag Ba'omer Sameach.
Yes, tonight is Lag BaOmer. Looking forward, everybody. Take care. You too.